All right, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Boulevard Brewing Company, and they're out of Kansas City, Missouri, and this is their 35th anniversary ale. So this is what they are calling a barrel-aged blend, which we'll talk about momentarily. That comes in at 11.5% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review. This bottle is just over 5 months old, and it also has a best by date, a please enjoy by date of October 3rd of 2026, and that means that they give this one a 2-year best by date, but I'm sure that this one could age even longer. So let's go right to the website / Untapped details here about this one. It says, when our founder John McDonald delivered the first keg of Pale Ale on November 17th, 1989, the beer scene was vastly different than today. They're right about that. John set out to, quote, do something different, and since that day, year after year, beer after beer, that spirit of innovation remains the same. We are celebrating 35 years of creativity and collaboration with this barrel-aged blend of Barleywine and Imperial Brown, aged in soft red wheat bourbon barrels, and Ben Holladay Bottled in bond barrels from our friends at Holladay Distillery. Raise a glass to 35 years of a great beer. So Holladay Distillery is a relatively local distillery in the Kansas City area. I think it's just outside of Kansas City. Also, the other thing I want to mention is that on both their, I think it's their website and definitely on Untapped, they say this one's 12.5%. On the bottle it says 11.5. I believe the bottle, but could be 12.5. And anyway, so a blend of a barley wine. I'd imagine they go English. They typically do, but whatever. It could be American barley wine. And Imperial Brown Ale aged in 2 different barrels. This sounds awesome. And as I always say when it comes to Boulevard beers, especially their barrel-aged beers, they're underrated. Their barrel program is definitely underrated. They always kill it. And they're shelfie beers. I'm reviewing this as a shelfie beer for the month of March 2025. And that's because I can walk into like a grocery store and pick this one up. It's very easy to get, and they're usually quite delicious. So I'm really stoked for this one. Let's give it a pour, see what we got going on here. Ooh, that's looking really nice. Definitely looking barley wine-esque. We're only going to pour half in. I'm going to drink the rest of this most likely tonight, but if I don't, I want to be able to cap it. But how does this one look? Absolutely fantastic. Look at that beer. Looks absolutely great. Has a beautiful like ruby red mahogany color with like amber tints to it. Had about a finger, just under a finger of a straight up khaki colored head. Alcohol legs all over the glass. Let me swirl back up and go a little bit closer if you guys can see that. Yeah, you can see the legs on the glass for sure. Had a little bit of carbonation to it. I'm sure definitely has some carbonation. But probably not crazy. Anyway, let's get a nose. And also, yeah, when I hold it up to the light as well, let's do this real quick so you guys maybe can see a better color of it. I don't know if it's going to show as far as the color goes. Yeah, you're not seeing much more than I am. But yeah, it has definitely, has some good, decent clarity to it. Anyway, let's get a nose. Man, that smells awesome. Ooh. I'm getting a huge, spicy, like red cherry. Yeah, like a sweeter, like maraschino cherry. Oh, man. Dude, that smells awesome. I'm getting fired up. It smells awesome. Yeah, so there's a ton of the barrel here. It has a lot of caramelized sugars. There's like caramel, toffee, vanilla, and oak from the barrel itself. A little bit of spicy. Again, spicy. I said spicy cherry. Some other dark fruit, too. Like maybe like, I don't say this almost ever, but it almost has like a little bit of like a cranberry in here, like a cranberry, a cherry, like a sweeter, almost slightly tart kind of, not that it's like infected tartness, but just like not a super sweet kind of, red fruit. Maybe a little bit of like I'd say golden raisin. There's also a touch of nuttiness. Could be from that Imperial Brown Ale that's in here, but I don't know. There's a little bit of like a nutty, almost like a walnut or something. Dude, this smells so unique. It doesn't smell like a typical barley wine. The only thing I'm getting from the brown ale is probably a little bit of caramelized sugar. It could be coming from, it's obviously the malts, and could be the spirit itself. But for me, it does smell more akin to a barley wine, but not a typical, like even English barley wine. It definitely has a little bit more emphasis on that fruity kind of red fruit quality, maybe even like a red apple. Dude, I want to get into this one right out of my darker beer fridge at 54, so perfect drinking temperature. I say that because I see a little bit of condensation, but that's because it is a little bit warmer today. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. It's fucking delicious. Listen, I don't want to make this review like 73 minutes long, but I just want to sit here and say one thing. If you like barrel-aged beers and you get Boulevard in your area, and you're somebody who only buys like super hyped local offerings, or you're gonna trade on the secondary, or it's gotta be Bourbon County, it's gotta be a special release, I gotta wait in line. Bullshit, you don't have to do that. Boulevard makes some fucking fantastic barrel-aged beers. They do. And they're cheap. They are cheap for what they are. But they don't taste cheap. They taste delicious. Going back in. Mine, this might be a little bit thin. 11.5%. This is more like higher, I'd say lower side of full body. 11.5, that's a bit thin. I'd like to see this full body. Fine. Makes it a little bit more drinkable because it is lighter body. The mouthfeel, I said it didn't look like it had a lot of carbonation. It is definitely softer. It's like mild to moderately carbonated. It's a little bit softer. Has a touch of creaminess, very smooth on the palate. The taste, definitely more of a barley wine, but not straight on barley wine. It does have a little bit of booziness to it. There's a little bit of booziness here. Definitely can feel it. A little bit of ethanol vapors in the nose, and like as I take a pull of it, nice warming in the chest. Not outside the realm of something 11.5%, but it's not like hiding the alcohol extremely well or anything. The taste, I'm sticking by that red fruit. Across the palate, there is this nice, like sweeter maraschino cherry, maybe even a mixed with like a sweet dark cherry. There's a little bit of red apple, like a very slight kind of like tart cranberry. That golden raisin I was talking about, you could say like dates and figs and whatnot, but I'm really not getting those specifically like I do a lot of the times. There's also a beautiful like slight drying cocoa powder, but there's a lot of caramel and toffee. There is tons of caramelized sugar, brown sugar as well. That's something I didn't mention. The nose definitely in here. It's like all of those red fruits I'm talking about, but like drizzled in caramel, or like covered in caramel, and maybe even a little bit of toffee. Sprinkle a little bit of brown sugar on there. That sounds crazy sweet, even though this beer isn't crazy sweet. Anyway, that's like the first half of the palate, maybe first 2/3 of the palate. The barrel hits like right after the first half of the palate. It's vanilla, it's oak. It kind of puts more of an emphasis on the caramel and the toffee, and it brings a spicy kind of character to the forefront. This is not rye spice, but it just has like a spiciness that I guess would probably be in the wheat bourbon. I don't know. Like, I'm not super familiar with all the different kinds of bourbons, so it definitely has a spiciness somewhere in here. There's also an underlying nutty character. Again, I'd say more like a walnut, maybe an almond. And it finishes firmly dry with a mild bitterness. This definitely is a sweeter, barrel-aged Imperial stout, or barrel-aged Imperial blended ale, whatever you want to call it. It's not like super cloying or over the top. It's not excessively sweet, but definitely leans sweeter. It's like 60-40 sweetness to dryness, which is fine because that's kind of in the wheelhouse. If I'm going to have this as like a nightcap dessert beer like I am right now, I do want it to be a little bit sweeter because I want it to satiate that kind of need for some kind of dessert, but not being super over the top and just confectionery throughout the entire palate. I really do like that dryness. Both has a little bit of just like a generic kind of like alcohol dryness mixing with like an oak tannin dryness. Again, 11.5%, I would guess probably at least 10.5%, 11%. If it's 12.5, it hides it a little bit. If it's truly 11.5%, doesn't hide it at all, I would guess 10.5 to 11, so it doesn't really hide it all that well, but it's fine. Not all these beers are always going to hide it well. As I drink on it, I'm not going to say this is like my favorite offering from them, but it is damn good without question, and I think it's worthy of being an anniversary ale from them. It has a lot of complexity. It's different, and that's what I like about this. The unique feel to this one is something that I haven't had in a while from like a barrel-aged beer, especially like a barrel-aged blended beer. I wouldn't pinpoint this as a straight-on barley wine, definitely not an Imperial Brown, but the fact that they blend the two together, then age it in the barrels, it gives it a uniqueness that I haven't really had from Boulevard to this degree, and it's just a really good beer. Plain and simple. That's what it is. I'm definitely drinking the rest of this, so I'm going to pour the rest into my glass because why the hell not? Yeah, so every time I say yeah, so I'm just thinking of Letterkenny or Shoresy. Yeah, so if you ever watch that show, yeah, so anyway, this beer is really good. Again, it's worthy of it being a 35th anniversary ale. It's different. It's unique. I like it. It is not the best I've had from Boulevard, but even though it's not the best, it's just when I talk about price point availability, you'll see why I bang the drum, so to speak, for Boulevard. I think they do a lot of good stuff with their barrel age program. I'll be honest with you, their regular offerings, outside of like Tank 7, I don't really gravitate towards them as much. I think they're okay. I think some of them are solid to good, but their barrel age is where they shine for me. And this beer is a perfect example of that. It's like, man, I picked it up and I knew it would be quality, and it is. And yeah, anyway. Rating on Boulevard's 35th anniversary ale, I'm going to give it a high 4.25 out of 5. I go 4.35. This is fucking great. And another winner from Boulevard. It doesn't surprise me that it is a winner from Boulevard because that's what they do. That's what they're known for in my household anyway. It's being a really good brewery when it comes to their barrel program. Price point availability, and here's where they win me over. This beer, $15.99 a 4-pack. That's $4 a bottle. Okay, that's $4 a bottle for a 11.5% barrel blended beer. $4 for that bottle. Come on. In a day of paying like, $5 for a 16 fluid ounce can of like a 6.8% hazy IPA. No, I don't have a tick. I'm just saying that beer is awesome. So yeah, all day, every day. And availability, it's Boulevard. I'm not saying you're going to see this everywhere. It took a while to hit the Western New York area. This one has been out since late last year, and it finally showed up in the past month, and I'm happy for it. Their other beers didn't show up, at least here in Buffalo. I think they showed up in Rochester, but like the carrot cake beer they had, the carrot cake barrel-aged beer, tiramisu, which some people said was a miss. I didn't get a chance to try it, and I haven't seen it, but if I do, maybe I'll pick it up. I'm not saying Boulevard hits the nail on the head for every barrel-aged beer they release, but more often than not, you're not going to break the bank for their barrel-aged beers, and they're usually good. Usually, typically, like 80% of the time, they're pretty damn good, and sometimes they're amazing. So 4.35 out of 5 for this beer. Awesome job by them. I'm glad I picked it up. If you see this one in your neck of the woods, give it a go. Like I said, 11.5% doesn't hide it all that well. I don't really care. And if you've had this one before, I have to hear from you. Please post in the comment section. I want to know what you guys think about this one. Like I said, I feel like I'm sometimes on a on a lonely, I was gonna say on a lonely, I'm stranded on a desert island, and I'm the only person saying that Boulevard's barrel-aged beers are good. But luckily, a lot of you in the comments section have said to me that you think the same thing, and I'm glad I'm not alone in that, because I'd feel kind of weird if I was the only guy saying that. I'd be like, oh, maybe my palate's shit. I know it's shit, but maybe it'd be specifically shit in this situation, but it's not. I don't think. I think a lot of you have the same opinion I do. Maybe some of you disagree. If so, comment section. Let me know why you disagree. And, we'll have a conversation about it. It's what it is. So anyway, I'm going to shut this one down. Does it for another Shelfie beer review here in the month of March. And until the next one, cheers.